Hi there, this is Mrs. Johnston. I'm making a video today to teach how to do multiplication and what it means when you're multiplying multi-digit numbers. So before we start, there's a few words that we need to know before we get going. So the first one is, what is multiplication? So this is my favorite website for math definitions. It's Jenny Ether's Math Dictionary for Kids. I've been using it for years. So if you click on M and we look for multiplication, it gives us a good definition here. So a mathematical operation where a number is added to itself a number of times. So this is one of the ideas for multiplication. And we can see here that multiplication can be represented using these little guys here, which are called arrays. So that's the next thing we're going to look at, is what is an array. So an array is a set of objects or numbers arranged in order, often in rows and columns. So if we click on the suns, we can see here this array represents 2 times 5, because there's 5, and it's represented here 2 times. So now that we've talked about the definitions for the multiplication, we're going to look at a visual representation of multiplication. So we're going to look at the arrays. So let's, for example, think about our multiplication like a nice long rectangle here. So this is our starting number, and our starting number here is 34. So I'm just going to write this down real quick so that I don't forget. Okay, so we're starting with the number 34. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to imagine that we grow this rectangle a certain number of times, and in this case we are growing it to 27 times its original size. So 34 has grown 27 times. Okay, so this small little rectangle here has become 27 times the size. So that's how we get our multiplication expression. So 34 grows 27 times. Now that we've done that, we're going to see how we can use the array to help us. And in this case, if we break our array up into place value, it's much easier to multiply. So what we're going to do is we're going to take away our very large rectangle here. And we're going to imagine it broken up into tens and ones. So you can see here, use my highlighter for this, you can see here that 34 is broken up into 1, 2, 3 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 4 ones here. And we can see that 34 has grown 27 times. So we're actually going to go ahead and label those as tens and ones. So 10, 10, 10, and 4. Still the same as saying 34. We've just broken it up. This is going to make it easier to calculate. Now we'll do the same with how many times it's grown. So we're going to be able to see that there's two tens, 10, 10, and 7 ones. Place value is very important in multi-digit multiplication. So by breaking it up this way, it forces us to think about it that way. What we're going to do now is we're going to do some color coding to make this easier to see what areas we are actually multiplying. So we'll get rid of our visually confusing grid here and bring out the grid that has the colors. Okay, so we are ready to go. Let's have a look here. The only thing that we haven't really done is marked off the difference between the two tens here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just going to change the thickness here to make it easier for us to see where we're going. Okay, so that's the break between the tens. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to look at this as how we are actually multiplying. So you can see by the different colors what the sections are. So step 1 is going to be to multiply the ones times the ones. So you can see right here, draw you a nice little arrow. You can see 7 and 4, that's the ones times the ones. Then, step 2 is to multiply the tens times the ones. So we're going to do the tens from the 34 times the 7, which is the ones in the 27. So that is step 2. Tens times the ones. Step 3 is to do the ones times the tens. So we're going to do the ones here times the tens that come from the 27. And the last step is to multiply the tens times the tens. So we're multiplying the 30 in 34 times the 20 in 27. So we've color-coded this and broken it up according to tens, but if you felt comfortable leaving it as 20 times 30, you could do that as well. Tens are really easy to multiply, so if you're not too solid on your multiplication tables, you'll probably want to break it up into your tens and ones, 10, 10, 10, and 4 being the example here. So step 1, 7 times 4. Well, that's 28. record that down here. Step 2 would be the 7 times the 10 to get this chunk is 70. And that means that this chunk is also 70, and that this chunk is also 70, for a total of 210. Step 3, we're going to do the 10s times the 1s, so 10 times 4 is 40. 10 times 4 is 40. For a total of 80. Okay, and now we're going to do the 10s times the 10s, which I find the easiest because 10 times 10 is 100, so we know that all of these little blocks are 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, so this whole big blue area is 600. And now we're going to add them together. So let's do our addition here on the side. 600 210 80 last but not least 28. Scroll down and get us a bit more room here, and we'll do our adding. So 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Okay, 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So we have 918. So we've basically multiplied every part of one number by every part of the other number. Now, the same thing should happen if we multiply with numbers. Okay, so here we go with our numbers. And it's the same thing, the same steps. And you can use the same color code if it helps. So we're going to do our first step, which was our 1s times our 1s. I just realized that I put in the wrong numbers. I'm just going to quickly go in and change that. Oops. Okay, there we go. Now we got the right numbers. Okay, so 7 times 4. Okay, 7 times 4, 28. Okay, get our color for step 2, which was the 10s times the 1s. So 30 times 7. 30 times 7 is 210. Okay, and then we do our 1s times the 10s. Okay. 4 times 2 is 8, but this is in the tens column, so we have to count it as 80. Okay, and then we're going to do our 10s times 10s. My personal favorite, because it gives us the biggest number. So 3 times 2 is 6, but we've got both numbers in the tens, so it pushes us over 2 place value places. Alright, scoot down for a bit of room, then we add. 8, 11, and 9. You can see we ended up with the same number, 34 times 27. And that is how this is the same